Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Caines, and Ed Mann.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Three Devs and a Maybe. My name's Ed Mann, and today I'm joined by the same crew that was here a couple of weeks ago, actually, Mr. Lewis Caines.
Hello there.
And Mr. Michael Budd.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, very good, sir, very good. Lou, your audio.
Yes. Oh.
It's upgraded. Upgrade your audio. What's going on there?
I have upgraded my audio to a blue... I nearly called it a Smirnoff Ice then, but it's not. It's
a Blue Yeti, yeah. The naming of these things.
It's a blue Snowball Ice, not a blue Smirnoff Ice.
How are you enjoying it?
It's more importantly, how are you enjoying it? I'm talking the same as I would normally. I can't hear myself.
It's great here. This end, it's going fine. Mickey?
Yeah, sounds beautiful. Is that what you're asking me?
So absolutely, that is exactly what I was asking.
Right.
I mean, we're all on the blue. What is it? They are called. Their name of the actual thing is
Blue Yeti.
Yeah. Because you've got the Blue Yeti, the Blue Snowball.
Snowball, yeah.
Should we give a disclaimer at this point as to where we are at this point in the proceedings with how we've got on so far today?
Yeah, it hasn't been the greatest.
This isn't take one, is it?
No, this is a couple of takes in. But for the audience, this is the great thing about editing is they'll never know until we've just told them. So we've actually ruined that illusion. But did you ever remember that show, the Magician Show, where they would like reveal the secrets? I used to love that show. Completely off random there, but it was a great show. It's like revealing the secrets of magicians.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
ITV or something?
That was it, yeah. And you were just like, it was an ITV on a Sunday evening, just go there and you're like, whoa, okay, that's how they do it. I do like enjoy that, like revealing the secrets. Maybe that's just in the DNA of like a developer is to like to know what's going on.
Doesn't that ruin it though?
I think, yeah, okay, maybe it does a bit, but I think I enjoy more the knowing than the fact that it's, that's a bit deep for this show. I like that,
Very
you know?
Deep.
Anyway, Mickey, how's your week been, man? What have you been up to?
You know what? I just haven't stopped programming, basically. So, like, every night...
In a good way or a bad way? There's a kind of...
bit of both, really. So, like, one was, like, the freelance project that I've been doing, which I keep thinking is, like, put to bed. And it's like, can we just do 2 more changes? And it's like,
Is this the Laravel project that you're working on?
Well, that is a Laravel project, yeah. So, that one's... In theory, it's all done, so that's good.
What is it you're actually making for that one?
So it is, they're called Campus Let, and they, basically they do like student accommodation. So yeah, they just, one of those sites, basically students go on and they find properties and then request viewings, all that kind of stuff.
And was it a greenfield project, or had you had a code base pre-brownfield, kind of pre-historic code base?
No, all from scratch, really.
Hey, that's nice. That's always nice.
Yeah, that's it. Like I say, I've been a bit, late to the dance, really. I don't know if that's an expression, but
late to the dance, I'll take that. It's better than anyone I've actually made up.
Good. All right, late to the dance with Laravel. Obviously, like I say, I use like older version, maybe Laravel 3, maybe. So obviously now Laravel 5. So that's been really good learning curve, to be honest with you. Really like that. But yeah, I don't enjoy freelance at all. And every time I do a freelance project, I say I'm never doing it ever again. And
it's a similar thing with people writing books, isn't it? You have that, you know. I'm never going to write a book again, and you get that itch again. And you're like, okay, I'll pick up one project. It can't be bad. I've learned from my mistakes. Surely I'm not going to go down the same route as before. And then you're like, no, bugger.
Yeah, and the thing is, I did learn, I guess, from some of my previous endeavours, and like I made it very clear this time, like what I would and wouldn't do.
Oh, well, you laid out a spec, like this is what you're getting. That's it. You're not. Could you just?
But even some of those things are quite vague. It's like you need to, like, once you've decided what you are and what I'm going to do, you need to then split that again. And keep going until you can't split it further.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, until you've literally got like a tree of, stuff that you aren't going to do. But, so that's, I'm glad to sort of got that done, to be honest with you. And then...
Yeah, what have you been working on at work then? What's fun stuff you've been getting on there?
Do you know what? It's been so varied. I can't say I've done any one thing. It's been very much jumping from project to project at the minute. We've still got like lots of e-commerce sites that are just sort of at that final stage of going live. So,
these are all the fashion sites, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. So we've had like quite a lot of them. So I've been working on that. And then the big thing that I have really enjoyed working on is just sort of my private project. And I apologise in advance. I don't usually plug things on here.
Plug
alert.
Plug alert.
Yeah, but me and some guys who I work with at the minute, we've been brainstorming for quite some time, and we get like a lot of ideas, and we're like, we go with it for about a week, and then we get bored of it, and we're like, no. And then we sort of had this idea, and we've really ran with it, and it's been really good because I'm working with two people who are really, really enthusiastic, and literally like every evening, 7 o'clock, like WhatsApp comes up, and it's like, oh guys, I'm working on the site. What, you working on it? It's like, yeah. So we've all been working on it every night, which sounds like hard work, but when everyone's got that enthusiasm,
it's really infectious, isn't it? It really does like give you that extra boost. Yeah,
and the product we've created, I think, is really, really good. So
what is the product?
Okay, so it's nothing groundbreaking. It's not just like, oh wow, that's never been done. But basically, it's like a shopping comparison site, and it has, I guess, our sort of like niche feature, which again, it has been done before. But we basically allow the user to say, well, look, I want this product, but I want it for this price, and then we'll do all the trawling in the background, and I'm just running a cron twice a day, which is the cron. Well, there's two crons. One's like basically researching all the search results to make sure that the search results are fresh and relevant, and the other one is then basically going through and saying, well, have we got any of these products for this price? And then we fire off emails to users. So that's basically it in a nutshell. But we've got so many ideas sort of stemming off from that, which we want to do, which will really involve kind of more like analytical data, reporting, all that kind of stuff, and we want to.
I'm not surprised that you're going into the AI stuff. You seem to be loving that at the moment. So really cool.
Really do. So
is it kind of a set it, forget it type thing? So you go to the website, you say, oh, I'd like that. Oh, but I'm only willing to spend 50 quid on it. You could wait maybe a couple of days, a week comes along, or, whatever. And they say, oh, by the way, guy, you get an email in your inbox saying, oh, you can get this now for £49 or something. And then
that's it. Yeah, that's exactly. Cool. So we are catering to impulsive purchases. Like you can go on the site and search straight away and go straight to a product. Or, if you're looking somewhere, I don't need it right away. I want to get the best price. You'll be able to
like Christmas gifts and things like that is quite useful as well, isn't it? Like wish list kind of thing.
Exactly. And the other thing we're providing is a graph of the price, so you can see how the price has changed over time. So hopefully you'll be able to say, well, look, this price is still coming down. I might as well keep waiting until that plateaus.
I like the gamification of purchasing, get like presents.
Yeah,
and stuff
but that's
like
it. We're
that.
just trying to give the actual consumer all the power. So and our ultimate sort of aim with it is that we'll be able to go to retailers and say, well, look, if you lower your price a little bit, then you're going to get all these extra
because more people. Customers. Yeah, that's brilliant. So, I mean, me and Lou are obviously the Dragon Den panel.
Yes,
we would like to invest in you. No, well, you're out. Yeah.
Have you got any money?
No, hang on. What do they say if they want to?
What is the nature of your business? It's supposed to be Duncan Bannatyne.
Sound like a Bond villain. You sound like a Bond villain. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you know your profits?
No, we don't know anything, but. Yeah, so,
just to let you know where I am.
So we've got most things working, and then obviously because we're going to be dealing with a lot of bulk emails, we've been looking into solutions for that, and that's where you guys probably seen my tweets last night, but using Mailgun has just been superb and so easy.
Have you had a look at other ones? Because I know like SendGrid and
so I started off.
I ended up using Mandrill. I think I tried Mailgun, but I had issues with it. I can't remember what they were, but Mandrill's been fine for me.
Yeah, so that it was literally like I just looked at the mail config file and Laravel and was like, well, I can use that one or I can use Mailgun. And I was like, I just went to Mailgun first, and I have very little experience with these things. So like the first thing I looked at was like MailChimp, and I was like, well, this just seems like a subscriptions thing rather than a.
That's more of a campaign thingy.
Because essentially you just want to get rid of having to deal with sending the emails, don't you? You don't want to be sending them yourself, getting blacklisted, handling all that gubbins. You just want open, like all of the information about like if they've opened it, bounce rates, etc., like that.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly that. And I mean, I don't know how much workload that's going to reduce from the server. I don't know how much work it is for server sending an email. But...
You know what? I don't think it's not the. I don't know whether it's actually the process load. I just think it's the ball ache of having to deal with getting blacklisted and spam and all that horrible stuff.
It's exactly why I had to go to Mandrill because of all of that. Yeah. We just get bounce backs all over the place.
Because email, because all these, because you have to be a verified, trusted email provider. And, if you, like Hotmail and Outlook and all these different, different email clients and email providers, they all prefer you to use these because obviously they've been verified. Whereas you coming along just with your, DigitalOcean IP address, You haven't got anything legitly. It's like, oh, can I trust this guy and things like that. So you are better off. I mean, for the price that they give it to you at, and sending it is probably easier. Mailgun
is 10,000 emails a month, completely free.
Oh, well, that's brilliant then. That's great for you, starting up and, being able to see, like, if it comes to something, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm only sending one email per user. I'm making sure that I, sort of bunch up all those requests. And,
so how what are you doing on a daily basis? I suppose because it's the cron job, isn't it? So does the cron job come along and then analyze it, then create emails that then get sent out immediately, or is that split up into extra steps?
So at the minute, because I say I'm using Laravel's scheduled task sort of manager thing, which is fantastic because basically all he does is, you set on the command line, you set that you want a cron to run every second, not every second, every minute, I think it is. And then obviously, then Laravel takes over and says, well, how often do we want to do this? And so I've literally just set it to twice daily. I think the method name is like twice a day or something, isn't it? It's very sort of...
They have a great DSL for it. I have seen it, yeah. It's a really nice way, fluid way of kind of being able to express these tasks.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm just using that, but to be honest with you, I did look and saw that Laravel's got like a mail queuing system, which I haven't been using. I'm just literally at the minute just looping through and doing it one by one. So I don't know if I benefit from using the queuing thing.
Well, that's actually quite interesting, actually, because queues and stuff are really quite cool. Because I know that Laravel, I don't know whether they have an inbuilt one, but I know they use external queue systems. Like I know you get like RabbitMQ and things like that. That allow you.
Is it Pusher or something like that?
But Pusher. So Pusher's the real time kind of chat client, like sending us, so like using WebSockets and things like that. Whereas like these queue systems, essentially all they are, they're still on your box, or you can, I think, even send them across, but I'm not quite sure. I think they're on your box, and all they're doing is it's just adding it to a queue, and then it processes it one at a time. Whereas so what you typically have is maybe you have all these jobs that you want to do, so you have a queue that's handling processing all the people, and then you'd have a queue that would then generate entries into another queue, which is for sending emails, and they'd all work at different times, and you have retry rates, etc., like that. So you're able then, if the email bounced like 5 times, all right, then let's just wait 5 minutes, etc., and things like that. So queue systems are really cool and like a good thing to kind of look into, especially when you want to expand out, because then that allows you then obviously to distribute those queues and split them out into different services, different processes, etc. I know that at work we currently just use Postgres, because Postgres is quite good at locking. I mean, I had to deal with that as a queue like system. But you get these tailored specific systems like RabbitMQ, etc., that allows you just to be able to do that.
Okay, that sounds quite interesting. I'll probably have a look at that. I mean, I guess the good thing is, say something breaks like halfway through, it'd be good to have something that's
well, that's it, because what it does, it deals with it. It handles, because it handles those cases where, as you say, like, so you're sending it to a user, or you're doing a process, processing something, and it fails halfway through, and what it can do then is obviously, alert you, and also it can then add it back to the queue, retry it, etc., like that. And it's it's a very nice way of dealing with things, and kind of dealing with that way as opposed to handling it, right there and then, is a nice way as well, because you can think of these as two separate concerns. Processing a user and then sending them an email is two different things. And it'd be nice to have that separation, whereas what you normally would do is bundle them together and say, well, I'm processing this user and I'm also sending their email at the same time, and that can delay whereas maybe you want to bulk and say, actually, I'm happy to process all of these users throughout the day, at set intervals, but I only want to send emails twice a day, and then you can split these up, which is a great way of kind of working.
So I'll have a look at that. That sounds really interesting. But I'm glad that I've used Laravel for the project. It's been really, really helpful. It's allowed me to, I don't want to use the word rapid development, but to that effect, it has really made things quicker and easier for me.
So, what is the company called? Because I don't know if you've actually mentioned that so far.
Okay, so it is called Smuddle, which...
what is I need the history of this name. What the reason behind it?
So, originally, the company was sort of started by me and a guy called Jason Smith. So we kind of took the Smurf from Smith and the Ud from Bud, and we were going to go for Smud, but Smud was taken. So we're now Smuddle, basically. But finding a good domain is hard.
It must be, because people just they sit on park on all these domains, don't they? Anything that's good, anything that's a dictionary word, someone's got and used it, and
so it's got nothing to do with the word cuddle.
No,
cuddle.
That's what I thought.
If you want to take that away from it, you can. But there is a holding page up there. if anybody's listening, please do go along there because you can like subscribe and you'll get information on when the site goes live and stuff. We really, really, really hoped we could have kind of got it live for Black Friday, but I think whilst we could, the danger is that we'll put something up that's rushed and then people never come back if it's buggy and horrible. So, we're not gonna rush at the compromise of quality. So we'll see how we get on with that. But obviously, there's not a lot of time left. And the other thing I would just say is I've been using Homestead for most of the development, which again I found just really, really nice experience and just makes it so easy and so nice to develop on, with the exception of upgrading to El Capitan on my Mac.
Which hasn't been the easiest for you, I've heard.
Well, I mean, the solution was dead easy, but it's just really annoying when once you've got your development, environment all working and then it's not working. I find that really stressful. It is. I
think that's the problem, and that's when you have these local development environments that aren't replicable. Using things like Puppet and Ansible and Vagrant instances. Even it can be a ball ache, can't it? Where you do something and you upgrade, and you're like, oh, so everything's changed. It's like, oh no, this is why you need this. Concrete implement static kind of. It very much it changes when I want it to change environment for development, as opposed to just kind of an underlying. It would just rip from under your from under your feet.
I think that's true, and this isn't a criticism at all, because I really like the way...
Here we go. What is he going to say?
No. I like the way the PHP is going, but obviously we've said before that the great thing about PHP is that the barrier to entry is so low, and I don't think it is anymore. I think you could argue that both ways for things like, like the inbuilt server on PHP now and that kind of stuff, but with all these tools, I guess... it becomes a little bit more daunting to people.
Tooling's an interesting one, isn't it, actually? Because I found this in a new area that I'm kind of delving into at the moment, and we should hopefully have a guest on in a couple of weeks about it. It's like hypermedia APIs and API building. And the more you delve into a topic, the more you realise, oh, there's a load of tooling now as well, and it can get quite overwhelming. So at the moment, what we've been doing, typically with APIs, your first bog standard APIs, you build an API and it's just a couple of endpoints or it's an endpoint, whatever, and you may do a SOAP one with WSDLs, etc. And I've just taught, easy wizard based implementation, but you eventually get into trying to design APIs and be because we're at the moment with the Kong stuff that we're working on, it's been quite API focused, and building APIs actually is a lot harder and a lot more intense, and a lot more thought goes into them, especially when you look into hypermedia APIs. And the tooling around that then, because at the moment, typically, when you do APIs, I remember back in the day, you just go to a browser and refresh, hit the endpoint and just start refreshing, and things like that. And, then you go and use Postman and things like that, because then you want to be able to, interact with them with using different HTTP verbs, etc. And now we're using things like, we're currently using something called RAML, which is the RESTful markup language, which allows you to describe APIs before you actually implement them. You describe them, and it allows you to provide documentation that way. And that's a whole other thing. And these tools, there's other ones. There's Swagger, there's API Blueprint, and it's just interesting when you mention tools. Where tools do complicate the matters, but they're trying to. It's a funny. They're complicating it while trying to make things easier. If that makes sense, it's a funny one, isn't it? Where once you've hit that pain, the tool helps you. But before you hit that pain, the tool is actually hindering you, because you're like, oh my days, do I really have to have this as well? Like Homestead, do I really have to load this in? Until you've been bit by, wow, okay, I need a stable environment everywhere I am. You don't feel it. And it, as you say, it can make the barrier to entry higher. So it's a really interesting point you make there. It is. It's a funny.
It's a trade-off, isn't it?
It really is a trade-off, sure. And I think I get caught a lot, specifically with new technologies and new things, because I'm so used to the tooling that I'm around. I'm like, oh, well, okay, then what are the cool tools I can use, or the tools that are going to help me? Whereas I really should be focusing, okay, how do I do it as simply as possible first, knowing that I may screw up a bit, just so I can, because you need that learning. You need to keep, you need to feel, okay, there's the pain, that's why that's solving that, etc. It's a really interesting one.
That's web generally, isn't it? Anytime you want to learn something, you're faced with 1,000,001 options.
Absolutely.
And then you're thinking, well, which one's going to teach me the best way?
The best way is one of those like perfection, isn't it? Trying to find it, and you just don't know. It changes on a daily.
I've had days like that when I've just wanted to leave my desk and go, oh, do you know what? It's just
this isn't for me.
It's too overwhelming. The way I deal with it, I just literally I take it on a job by job basis, and whatever the problem is at hand, if so and so tool seems to be the best way to solve that problem, then that's what I go with, rather than what do I want to learn about? Or
that's it. And trying to like force a technology or force a tool on a project, on a problem, as opposed to
you understand it better as well. Then once you've got it in a proper perspective of or context of something that you're trying to do, then I think it helps you understand it better, because you realise how it solves the problem that you're trying to fix.
But then the thing is, people coming in, they don't see that, and then they're told, you've got to use all this, and you have to have this built up in magic, and then to be honest, a tool is actually a bit of magic as well. In some cases, it's just that extra, it's helping us because it's then hiding from us something or an abstraction over something. And people coming in, I completely agree with you, Bud, where you say like the barrier to entry becomes harder because of it.
Yeah.
But that's the trouble with the industry we're in, and I think maybe in anything, maybe like, like hammers and tools like that. It's like, I can just use a hammer, but then I've got the tooling of using, I don't know. My building analogies are awful, but yeah,
you're right. That's a good
the thing you can't get away from is that you have to have knowledge of the fundamentals that underpin all of those. If you haven't got those in the first place, then you can. I suppose you can learn to use the tool, but you probably won't understand it.
And it's trade-offs, and absolutely, it's trade-offs as well, where, you're saying, look, okay, this is why, and providing a reason behind it, okay, I'm not using, I'm not using this, framework or Homestead at the moment because I'm just setting up a simple, script that's just going to be run on, a simple web page for someone. I don't need it. It doesn't have value in it, having all this infrastructure around it.
It's like I showed you some of the stuff I've been doing with Google Maps recently.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I've showed you some. I mean, I remember once upon a time, I used to say, "Oh God, I find the Google Maps API an absolute nightmare to work with." Yeah. But I realise now, looking back, it was nothing to do with that at all. It was, my JavaScript skills weren't good enough to use it. Whereas now, over time, I've evolved in that area, and now I'm able to do pretty much whatever I want with it, which is great. So
it's really satisfying, isn't it, when you go back to something amazing. Like a year later and you're like, wow.
But you're just coming at it from a completely different angle as well.
Yeah.
But as I said, you've got the basic skills that you need, or the general kind of knowledge to even know where to start.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the thing. You're going into something completely new and you just don't know where to start.
Well, I mean, and actually, sorry, we're talking about new, Lou. I know that you're hopefully trying to look into React and things like that at the moment. How was you say, your JavaScript kind of stuff going at the moment?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I haven't quite got to the point of implementing it into a project yet, but I think it is fantastic, and it's been a lot of fun to learn it. And the things again, coming back to this conversation, the things that I've had to start learning alongside it, like Browserify and things like that, and using NPM more and modules and things like that.
I think the barrier to entry on web stuff like JavaScript as stack is stupidly crazy high. As you say, when you say everything was jQuery back in the day.
Yeah.
And now obviously it's not, it's gone back to vanilla JavaScript, but then you use ES6, and to be able to use ES6, you need to have ES5 transformations, because you can't, not every browser supports ES6, so you have to use Babel for that. And then, but with Babel, it's like, you could run it just through it and, generating all your files that way every time that you want to then run them, or, just for a distribution. But then actually it's nice to use something like a Grunt or a task manager like that, or maybe even go into more of a Browserify type thing and a Webpack thing where you've got that module dependency. It gets crazy the more you look into it, and then you have obviously the test runners and running for Mocha and all these different testing frameworks that have come out, and then React obviously has become. I mean, like speaking to Dan, last episode, about Redux and things like that, and the Flux implementations and how they have just exploded, and there's so many different ones, and the stories behind them. I mean, there is meaning to everything. There was meaning to jQuery, because, the meaning for jQuery was solving the issue of the fact that the browsers had become so crazy. You want to try and normalize this. That makes sense. And then it was like, well, everyone's now using jQuery, but you don't really need to use jQury at a time. Why are people using, there was a backstory for that. And then there's a story now for going back to just straight up, straight up ECMAScript, JavaScript standards, because now obviously the browsers have kind of caught up, and, it's nicer to just be able to use the standards as opposed to lobbing the whole library at something that you just need to be able to grab a DOM element at. and maybe hide it or show it. So yeah, it's funny you actually mentioning JavaScript stuff. It is harder, I find, even than in the PHP world.
It's the fact that it's changing so much. I mean, the React series, the first one that I looked at, I started going through it, and it was using JSX Pragma. Yes, using that, and yeah, exactly, using that, and thinking, hang on, this isn't working. And then I looked online, and obviously you don't need to use any of that stuff now. You can just use Babel to compile it all through there. But then I had to obviously learn about all that stuff as well, on top of just trying to learn the basics. So even get off the ground and start, just getting my first basic component working. I then had to, because even though the tutorial series is only about 8 or 9 months old, it's already out of date. So I'm having to go back over stuff.
That's exactly it. It seems that you're stamping, once something's posted, or a blog post posted, a tutorial series is done, a video series is done, a week later it's out of date. And it can get quite annoying because, I'm really bad where I don't look at now like, video series or series and things, unless it's concepts or, kind of things or, paradigms, architectural style or things like that. Implementation detail wise, I don't actually look at things that I'll go on YouTube and I'll search by the day it was uploaded, being able to say, okay, well, I want the latest of them. A couple of days, 2012, probably don't really want to listen to that anymore, unless it's something that's, like an important video series, important video, lecture or something about things. But yeah, it is bad. These things, they go so quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating at times.
But anyway, Luke, how are things going with you, man? Like, you've got a bit of good news this weekend. Certain house purchase, maybe.
Just the one house purchase.
Just the one, not certain house purchases,
Just one, yeah. We've obviously moved to the West Country now. We're living in Wootton Bassett, and yeah, we're only on a 6-month tenancy. We've been out and we've bought a house in Frome.
Frome. See, when you text me that, I thought it was a spelling mistake, but there is a place called Frome. And where is Frome?
It's the fastest place in the world.
The fastest place in the world.
Sorry, that's a terrible joke. Where is it? It's probably about 45 minutes southeast of Bristol and about 20 minutes south of Bath, I would say. It's just down that way. It's in a really nice market town, in a very nice spot, and a lovely house in the corner of a quiet cul-de-sac and overlooking all the hills and stuff. So yeah, it's all good. We've got the whole move process to look forward to again very, very soon, which is hard work, but it's going to be worth it.
Look forward to. I'm not sure the looking forward to. I'm sure getting into your new place is going to be a great thing, but
amazing, yeah, can't wait. But yeah, no, life is good. I'm enjoying working from home, working remotely. It's brilliant. I seem to be not more productive. I think I try and be as productive as I can anyway, but I don't know. I seem more to enjoy it more. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because it's my own surroundings, but who knows?
No, I mean working remote has definitely been great for you, hasn't it? You're really enjoying that. And so, what type of things have you been working on at work recently, or in your own time?
We've actually in the last 2 weeks we've managed to put 3 sites live. It's been great.
Hey.
So, we've had kind of the old backlog with clients and stuff like that. We've managed to get everything we need out of those to push 3 things live. So it's good. It's always good to get things out the door. And the biggest thing that I've been working on in my own time is lkainswebdeveloper.co.uk.
You're working on... spill the beans.
I've said this so many times, though. But yeah, if you go to it at the moment, it says something like, Lewis Keynes' website is coming soon. And
a year ago.
If you had to define soon, it's probably about 2 years. So no, every day now I'm trying to put 2 or 3 hours into it just to get it to a point where I can put it live. So I think.
What is the direction of this? Is it going to be a blog? Is it just going to be like a splash homepage type thing?
It's going to be a bit of everything. It's going to be a bit of a portfolio site. Some of the bits that I've done. It's going to have a blog. It's going to have some tutorials. I'm going to start writing those sorts of bits and bobs. A link to our cast, of course, and some contact details and general things. I mean, I'm not looking for freelance stuff at the moment, but it's always good to network with people and things like that. But
well, absolutely. I mean, I found with blogging and stuff, it's just great so you remember it yourself. I find that like being able to blog, I then go back and go, oh yeah, now I remember it again. Because things change so quickly. It's nice to be able to have like a place that you just dump your thoughts.
Exactly. Well, another thing that I really want to look into the idea of starting to record some screencasts as well. That's kind of
that'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Is that another reason why to get the snowball? It's the snowball. Why do I think
It's
snowflake?
partly the snow. It's the blue Smirnoff Ice.
It's the blue Smirnoff Ice. I think that's a great name for it. Yep, the blue Smirnoff Ice.
I don't know. It's a combination of things, really. It kind of, to me, feels like it's giving back a little bit, because that's how I learn everything that where I've got to has been through watching the sort of things that I want to record. I want to do it in a very non-jargony way, and I want to try and communicate things to people in a different way. Maybe it's something that I need to give a lot of thought to, but it's certainly something that I want to do. And I kind of want to focus in on the areas that I haven't been able to find anywhere on the internet either. There's obviously, for every problem you find, in a lot of cases, there's 200 videos on it. But I really want to zero in on the less obvious things that can crop up that you kind of bumped into, which I think. Well, exactly, yeah. If it's been one of those kind of on project things where I've had to do a lot of work to on a new area or something, and I've struggled to find the resources for it online, then yeah, exactly. It's that kind of giving back thing. I wouldn't even contemplate charging for anything like that. It's good to put stuff out. I use a lot of open source stuff, so anything you can do to give back if you can is a good idea, really.
Absolutely, that's a great idea, man. So, have you got any ideas, first kind of screencasts you're thinking of, or are they still up in the air on what you want to do?
Still up in the air. I haven't got any screen recording software yet. Actually, that's probably my next thing. Any recommendations?
I'm trying to think what I actually use at the moment. I use ScreenFlow. ScreenFlow is the one I use. That's a Mac product, which is really good. Definitely recommend that. ScreenFlow. Yeah, that's a really good one. Definitely recommend that.
You can literally use QuickTime right out
the
box. You can
add that. You know what? Scrap that, actually. Don't worry about that yet. For the first couple, just use QuickTime. Yeah, you can actually, it says new screen recording and it will record the screen.
I've seen that come up on Google searches that I've done, but I figured there's no... I just took for granted that there's no way that will do all of it. But you're saying it does.
It's really good.
If you just want to be able to record the screen, because I know ScreenFlow goes into some more advanced things, like being able to, I know that you probably see on the Jeffrey Way ones where he has, showing what keyboard combinations he's using, etc. But, to start off with, the ones me and Joe Watkins did were very much just, they were actually just through his virtual box, screen save in that way. Screen saving, screen sharing, and saving it.
Does QuickTime let you do the audio as well? Because I want to do audio and video.
Joins it all in, I think, yeah.
Wow.
The pro way is just to get your iPhone and just record it.
Wasn't our first couple of episodes actually just for this podcast just recorded through your audio?
Yeah,
and it actually didn't sound that bad. But I've listened to the first one back a couple of times, and it's literally you playing the beginning of that track, and then pausing, or slowly going down on the mic or on the volume on it, and it is just us playing through Skype, going through his then speakers to then go genius.
We've come a long way, right?
Isn't that song?
We've come
a long way.
If today's podcast hadn't started as badly as it did, then I would have agreed with you. But we regressed all the way back to episode 2 earlier on. Which there is a version that only we are in possession of.
We've done really well. No, actually, I think episode 2 is out there. It's just heavily modified. Or heavily edited because of it really did go off course. We got too cocky after the first one, we kind of felt we could do this now, and then no, you've got to stay on the track, It's like a sports team, you can't rest on your laurels. You can't take any game for granted, any podcast for granted.
Can I just say
absolutely
get in trouble with the marketing manager at Smuddle that we are on Facebook and Twitter. The Twitter handle
we will put it all in the show notes. Yep, we will put all in the show. Absolutely, sir. No, this is, it'd be great to get them on if they were up for coming on. Talking about the product, talking about how you built it. Kind of what the origins of it are, whose thought it was, etc. How annoying it is working with Michael Budd is another, key.
I tell you, it's a pleasure.
They'll be forced to
pay.
Liar. I'll speak to them.
And with because actually with the product then, so you're having to interface with a lot of APIs, aren't you?
Yes.
I think that's So how have you been? What typical APIs you've been dealing with? Is it just XML kind of JSON based, or
one of the things that's I got 2 in, and then I went to construct another thing. So I'm only dealing with eBay's API and Amazon's at the minute.
Yep,
which is really good. It's I wouldn't say beginner developer could do it. But you need to know a little bit. And you need to know a little bit about working with APIs, but it's not too bad. But the biggest issue we've got is speed, basically. Just trawling results, going up to the retailers, and we quickly realised that we just can't do that, really. So the way we've kind of got around that is the idea that once we've had a search term in our database, that's why we're kind of refreshing those results every day, so that when you come to get the results, you're just getting them locally from our database rather than trawling again. So that's why we kind of got around that. But obviously, there's always going to be stuff that you search for that we've not already searched. On that case, yeah, it is a bit slow. It's upsetting, but hopefully that's going to become less and less. And one of the things I'm actually doing.
I'm on an interesting project. Sorry, you go. You cut in front of you there. I do apologise.
No worries. Yeah, one of the things I'm doing is because I've been using, I was using JSoup for my uni project, which is like a HTML parser thing. I might as well reuse that code that I've got there, and I'm going to actually crawl Argos, some of those sites like AO.com, and I'm going to try and get loads of product names and then add them to my database and just keep adding and adding to that, do it that way.
That's probably a better idea, because I know that we were discussing like a combinatory kind of way of being able to terms kind of, being able to expand on that. Having like different, but that maybe actually crawling like those type of things would be an interesting one.
Might get us more relevant results, possibly. Yeah. So,
seeing as you're trying to crawl the whole internet at this time, are you still going? Are you still crawling for your project?
No, I stopped at about 7 million records because I decided against it. I mean, the main reason I wanted to do it was to try and get counts for backlinks, but actually now I'm thinking I could maybe. Because I can get most other stuff, maybe I can actually kind of predict what the backlink count is. That might be
right. How would you do that?
I don't know. Maybe you could tell me, but I don't.
Audience, work out, please. How do you predict backlink count?
Well, I was going to think, I'm going to try and compare sites that have got very similar content, but very different search positions. And then, maybe I can calculate a backlink score that way. So, I don't know. I'm at a very early stage of that, to be honest with you. So, I'll keep you posted on that. But, yeah, sorry, I interrupted Lou.
No, I interrupted you. I do apologise.
Everyone's too kind in this podcast.
We are.
Like, we're like, oh, sorry. No, sorry,
No.
Like, no.
From an interesting...
Yeah.
From a working with APIs point of view, I've got an interesting thing coming up on one of the projects that I'm working on at the moment.
Okay.
So it's been quite cool and apt, actually, because obviously doing a lot of moving around. I've been on estate agency websites, left, right and centre, and property and this, that and the other.
Yeah.
And we're currently building a site for a big property consultant in London at the moment. And they use Vibra. Have you ever heard of Vibra? Vebra?
No.
It's kind of a central... solution that they use, where they basically post properties to Vibra, and then Vibra will distribute it to Rightmove and Zoopla and a couple of other ones.
So you can tap into like multiple APIs, but just go into one place. Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they provide some sort of, it's an XML feed. It's not JSON, unfortunately, but. Yeah, we haven't had the full instructions through yet, but that's something that I'll be doing soon that I'm looking forward to doing. So that'll be quite interesting to report back on.
There's a really easy way of converting XML to JSON, which I found for PHP. Can't remember what it is, but I'll have a look and I'll try and send that to you if I can find it, because I had a similar sort of thing where I wanted JSON, not XML.
I'm just wondering what this feed's going to be like. There is a package on Composer that that's compatible with it apparently, but I might see what it's like first of all and then go from there. But
exactly. I mean, this is the thing where it's like working out. I mean, the interesting things like the APIs, etc., like that, and it'd be really cool when we do get this guest on to be able to talk about this, because kind of like the different types of APIs where you have the ones that are just literally dumps of data. And then there's no story in them at all. There, it's like, you do what you want with this. We don't know what you're going to do. I mean, essentially, with probably stuff like what you've been working on with Amazon, and also then with like with the estate agent, with that housing kind of API would be that type of thing. And you get other ones which are kind of a bit more structured, maybe heavily documented, things like Stripe, etc., like that, where they're going to have heavy documentation, and the ones like Hypermedia ones where it's more story based. So no, it's really interesting. APIs are a very cool topic, and like kind of something I'm really heavily investing a bit of time in at the moment, because I've really think they're quite interesting topic, like RESTful things. But I hope I'm starting to read the Roy Fielding's RESTful API. Well, RESTful, his dissertation, 2000 dissertation they did for his PhD on REST. So like from the beginning of it, which is quite cool. I'll report on that. It'd be interesting.
The other issue you've got is obviously if you're sort of trawling from multiple APIs, then you've got to normalize the data so you've got something that can be used, because otherwise they're all sending you back different things, and in that state it's unusable. But it sounds like what you're using, Lou, that's kind of all been taken care of it for you, I guess, unless it does give you back different stuff.
I hope so. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my computers, I've got beach ball of death flying up all over the place at the moment, but I don't know what's going on.
Have they taken off the beach ball of death now? I thought, has it gone like in late? Has El Capitan got no beach ball?
I'm not on that, I'm still on OSX on this one.
No, I'm not, I'm not. I'm still on the one before. Is it Mountain Lion now? No, which one? Yeah, which one's the before El Capitan? I haven't bothered to upgrade yet. I really should. Yosemite, that's the one.
Yeah. I'm still on that. On my laptop, I'm still on Yosemite. I haven't upgraded to El Capitan yet. And I remember I had similar issues to Mike with my local server and stuff when I upgraded to that, so I am a bit sceptical.
I think it is going to a place then where you need Vagrant installations and you need that kind of setup where you can programmatically set up the exact.
I've used Vagrant before; it was just too time consuming. Vagrant upping and downing, and
the thing is, I completely agree with you, Ed. But I thought I got around that, and then the issue I had was like some of the composer commands that I was using to set up my Homestead environment, they required mcrypt installed on my local environment.
Right,
I couldn't even get around it that way. I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever.
Well, so I think mcrypt. So yeah, because Homestead. See, Homestead's a package on top. So yeah, because it's interesting because Homestead's actually a bridge between like your installation and then Vagrant. Which is then also a bridge between It's very interesting that there's probably like multiple levels there now. But that's an interesting use case, because normally you would be able to just install Vagrant, which is backed by either VirtualBox or VMware, and then be able to just run your Puppet installation, your Chef, whatever you use in there within it, or Bash commands even.
Yeah.
I think in my case, I've got to know my remote server well enough to know that I'm all right using what I'm using. I don't have any of those issues at the moment. So
I guess if you're always deploying to one place and you know that your environments are so similar, then you're right. I guess you don't need to. But for me, like the issue is that sometimes I want to dev on my iMac, sometimes I want to dev on my MacBook, and because the local environments are different, I sometimes have problems there. Whereas if I'm using Homestead, then don't have to worry about that.
That's it. It goes. I mean, you've really enjoyed Homestead, haven't you? So, what is the secret sauce with Homestead then? Is it like the configuration, or just how easy it is to be able to boot up and get an environment set up?
Yeah, I think exactly that. How easy it is to get set up, and like I say, just for me, just the
because it provides a lamp stack, does it? Like it provides you with
and just I'm not sure this is the right word, but like the transportability of it, that I can just move it from one place to another, and and just have confidence that I can then boot up that box and have my development environment there working. Obviously, with the exception of the thing I just talked about, but in theory, it works really well.
mcrypt's been your demon all the time, though. It's been years of mcrypt.
I have Yeah, I do. I have years of nightmares with mcrypt. It really annoys me, actually.
I've just used MAMP the whole way through, and thankfully that's never cropped up.
Do you know what? I've got people at work who use MAMP a lot, and I always criticise them, and I say, no, you shouldn't. But they never have any issues, so they always...
So you're like, okay, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, whereas I do. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm an idiot, don't listen to me.
So you're just using the out-of-the-box Homestead, or are you doing a bit... Yeah. And that matches up to your remote server nicely, does it?
No, it doesn't, to be fair, but no, it doesn't get me around that issue. I guess if I wanted to do that, then I would have to get all the settings from my remote and then create my own virtual box, I guess. But
you're probably in the same situation though, where you're used to using it, so you know the as long as your PHP versions are similar, then you shouldn't really have too much.
Yeah. I did
subtle differences, though. Subtle differences. That's
very true.
The problem.
I did say to Ed, and if there's anyone who knows a tool out there like this, I couldn't find anything, but something something you could run on the command line. You could SSH onto a box, and then it would just scan your system set up your LAMP stack, and then would create the virtual box.
So that would be very cool.
It would be very cool.
It would be very cool. I think, yeah.
I've given you like 2 weeks to make this. I don't know.
I think you'd have to do it the opposite way around, though. You'd have to flip it where you create a Vagrant instance or a Puppet manifest or a Bash file that has that template in that you then run on both your development and your your production. And then
that makes more sense.
Then the source of truth would be just there. Whereas, what would be nice is if you say, you can just say, oh, just scrape down what's on that one at the moment, and then I'll be able to put it here. So it would be harder, but it would be, at least then you'd have that stable state where this is exactly what I've got. And declaring things is so much better. Like, that's one thing with Puppet now I've realised. Like, you go into this state, because Puppet's very different to things like Chef and just Bash scripts or Ansible. I was very much like, if I want to learn one of these server, like administration, DevOps tools, I'm going to want to learn something like Ansible, which is very close to Bash and things like that. But then at work, and fortunately so actually, at work, they use Puppet. And I had to learn this, and I've had to be, kind of get into that way of, you declare things instead. It's not talking about how it does it. It's just saying this must be in this state. It will work out how to get into that state. And it's a really great way of doing it, because then you're able to actually, it's very idempotent in the fact that, you do it once and that's it. So, it's not going to be running it. Say if you're trying to, it creates file, I need to create this file, and it will just, if the file's already there, it's already created it, it won't run that again. It won't do that again unless it needs to do it again because it's not present. So things like that where, I've really enjoyed learning Puppet, and, having that defined source of declaring everything, saying this is what it has to be like, gives you that confidence that when you do run it in multiple environments, in multiple different boxes, different development, situations, you've got that, that case where, but the thing is, again, we're very much tied to Debian, whereas that again, it's the whole idea of, I know that because you can be quite agnostic on these things where it's like, and it'll work on all these different implementations under the hood, where you have like maybe a CentOS, CentOS box, and you have a Debian box and things like that, but no, really, you are still specific and tied to a certain type of distribution. It's really kind of, for me, it's setting up that, look, if I have a clean Debian box, I can run this and it will get me into the same state as what it was there.
Yeah, I completely agree. No, I think you're right.
Well, have you guys made a site? Sorry to just digress just a little bit, but have you made a full stack site without using PHP?
That's interesting, actually. That's a really good question. As in, like, to production ready, send it out into the live and everything?
Just a general, even if it was just dabbling with something.
I have dabbled. I've done some
Python.
What did you use? I've done Python, I've done a bit of Ruby, I've done a bit of Scala. All personal things, though, like maybe my blog was written in it. I know that I wrote in Scala my blog once, just for fun, but nothing in production, nothing that's ever actually hit. I mean, you could say some of my Node stuff maybe was hit as well, because there was some things I did there, which was production stuff, but it wasn't very much, the be all end all. Everything that I've ever done actually really has been, specifically in my commercial kind of, professional career, has always been predominantly PHP, with things around it, different types of languages around that to help aid.
Yeah, what have you used to store data?
In what way? Like persistence, kind of like data stores. And
things
like.
Anything.
So,
I mean, using like any particular? Do you always just use SQL, or do you use JSON, or any particular?
It depends, because actually, so like straight up flat file JSON files are actually quite nice in some cases. Depending on your use case. I mean, typically, the nice, like the whole common case of like a blog that then needs a SQL backend, with like either Postgres, MySQL, it can be quite heavyweight really for what you need. You can just use flat files and things like the static file system, file creation, software, blog software is great for that type of thing. But no, it's interesting actually where, I haven't actually built like a fully big website outside of PHP.
Yeah, just a little thing I thought I might dabble with, because I've been using PHP for a long time, and I just thought it might get me starting to use some different things. I like Node.js a lot, so I might explore that.
Well, it's interesting because another thing with PHP, which has helped so much, is the fact that it's so ready for the web. And like I know nowadays we typically will use things like FPM. And that then bridges the gap between something like Nginx requires FPM to be run, but you can have Apache and just have Apache PHP and it will just run and it will work. Whereas if you start using something like Node, or you start using something like Python, or Ruby, I remember specifically in the case of Python, you need to use a WSGI, which is their web API gateway contract, and you then need to have a specific server that runs that. So you have what you typically would have is you'd have Nginx, and then you'd have it proxying to another server, which is just the WSGI server, which handles the request to Python, which is similar to what FPM does. But it does add that extra complexity. And again, that's that kind of, starting up and being productive in it quickly. That's why PHP's kind of won out, where it's just like, well, no, we're just a web language. We're just going to, Apache can handle it as well, and you can deal with it that way, which is interesting. Again,
Okay. Just thought I'd put it out there.
Yeah, I think I tried making a site in Python one time with, is it Django, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get very far, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, to be honest, I've never really bought into all this PHP is a rubbish language. I mean, it is pretty much all I've ever used, but it's always done the job for me anyway.
It's a tool, man. It's just a tool, and like every language has got its pros and cons. And you're not dependent on that tool. You use it because that obviously you're the most common for you're most comfortable with that tool. But you can easily go and pick up another one. It's an imperative language. It follows a lot of the same paradigms as everything else. Everything's got its own syntactic sugar, which is quite nice. But, there are very much, some languages such as Lisp, Dialects, they will split and change and go crazy on you. And you'll be like, well, this is completely different. But, you can learn, and they all solve different problems. And PHP solves, a problem, of this kind of, ilk, which is, it's just a general purpose language that allows you to solve these things. But I mean, it's funny when people say it's a bad language. It's not really. I mean, it's what you use it for, which can be bad. If you start playing around with it and using it in areas where it shouldn't be used. I mean, like similar to like Joe Watkins says with the PHP threads, where people start spewing off threads, on a web request, and using these P threads kind of thing. That's bad. That's the bad thing, not the tool that you've used. You've used it in the wrong way.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I like it.
I'm guessing we probably should wrap up for the day now. Yeah.
Yes.
All right then, guys. Well, it's been very nice talking to you, and it's been great. And we'll talk to you next. We'll have another episode maybe next week. We can probably keep this rolling. All right, then, audience. It's been great speaking to you, and speak to you next week.
Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.